Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rambling Toffee podcast. I'm Mark. How can I start this podcast this week? You know, week in, week out, I keep on hoping that we'll get a good result, that we'll move forward, that we'll get progress, that we'll get clarity on everything regarding the club, off the field and on the field, and the way that we're playing and everything else, and seeing some positive thing that's going to go forward. But last night was just the pinnacle, really. It was like the tip of the iceberg of a season that's just been like going on and on and on and on and on, never ending. For me, try and find into words the game last night, the takeover that's going on at the moment, this, that, and the other. It just and the points deduction, obviously, and you just want to see it to end. I'm getting fed up with it, and I do this podcast because I love talking about Everton and talking about the Blues, talking about how the team, talking about how we're playing, and I'm hoping, and even on this episode today, talking about me just moaning as per usual about how we're performing and things like that. But I just like to talk and interact and try to interact with you guys out there who listen to this podcast and me just rambling on as per usual um, about everything that is Everton Football Club. But the game last night was just, for me, as I mentioned, the tip of the iceberg. It was just like it's been coming. You can see it from a mile off. The performance against Burnley, people can say, well, it's all about the points. And I probably said the same thing last week after the Burnley game, that, it's all about getting the points. It don't really matter about how we perform. But even so, in that game, against a very poor Burnley team as well, that you can see the performance was not there. We're not performing well. There's no we're disjointed. It feels like the players have not played with each other before. It just feels like tactics and formation, or the way that we're playing. It just feels like the players just never have played with one another before. It feels alien. It feels like that whatever the tactics or whatever's been given to them, or instructions have been given to them by Sean Dyche and the coaching team, they go out on a field and it's just like same old, and there's nothing different about it. Nothing's changed about it. There's no kind of, you can see something different in the game. For this formation, this tactic that he's doing and playing with, for most of the season, and it's just like you can see it. You can see it in every game that even the likes of Burnley, I think in the second half, even with 10 men, they were getting forward and they were creating up. They were getting in positions which, on if it was a good team that is like a top, like a Liverpool, like an Arsenal, like a Man City, or any of the top sides like Villa and everybody else, they'll be ripping us apart. And inevitability is last night against Chelsea, who are struggling. Yes, they spent all that money, and that's for another day. The fact that they've not breached the PSR result is just unbelievable for the amount of spending that they've made on players. And yes, they've had injuries, but they've been playing poorly, and they've been playing against teams roughly around where we are in the table currently. And they've been dropping points, and you get like the Sheffield United and Burnley. So you go into that game last night, you're going against a team that's not been playing well, and you would think that it'd be more an even game. We had 5 minutes in the first half in the beginning where basically we had an opportunity which Beto blazed over as per usual, and got himself in a position, and then all of a sudden, as soon as they scored, it was just like caved in. It just like we were disjointed again. You can look at the team he put out there. Ashley Young again on the wing. Why go with Harrison? Okay, Harrison's not playing well, but between the two of them, I'd rather Harrison be playing on the wing than Ashley Young at the moment. But he goes with the experience again. He goes with what he thinks is experience and somebody who can do a job. He doesn't have any pace neither. And does Jack Harrison have any pace? Well, he probably has a bit more pace than you know Ashley Young. But he goes with him, and Arna comes back in. Okay, Gomez drops to the bench. Um, your defence is as per usual. Obviously, just a game was out, but that 5 minutes, oh, that was it. But soon as they scored the first, it was just like forget about it. We caved in. It was a poor performances on defensively with Branthwaite, one of his most disappointing games in a while. Um, Tarkovsky as well, and right across the board. And I think it was it was just abject. And again, for me, I love doing this podcast, and I love talking to you Blues out there, and giving my view, my opinion of how Everton are doing in each game. But it's just like that. What we saw last night was just it was just about to happen. It was going to happen, and it did. And I'm pissed off, really, and I'm just fed up with it. We've got a situation now where last night 6 goals scored against us. It's been wiped out our goal difference that we had from our when we have been doing okay in a defensive sense this season with Luton. So it's back on the same amount of the difference in goals, and we have to beat Forest. We have to beat the teams in front of us now. We've got an opportunity next week. We've got 3 home games. I won't catch much from the Liverpool game. Obviously, they're going to want to get a result because obviously they've come off 2 defeats, one in Europe and one in the league over the weekend. So they want to try and stay in the title race for their purposes, and we need some kind of really good result on Sunday against Forest. And the way we played last night, and the way Forest are playing at the moment, you may think Forest is still getting losing games or they're not picking up points, but at least they're scoring goals, and at least they're fighting to don't pull themselves away. So it's going to be a very very difficult game. But after last night, you just think, where are we going to get a win? Where are we going to get the result? The next result, and it just the fear there in my own mind is that if all I'm thinking is this is the hope, the miraculous, escape that we've had in the last 2 seasons or so, and just hope that on this occasion that we hope we played well enough that we can get a result and we can pull through this. But after last night, that's going to be demoralising, not just on us as fans who are watching this week in week out. 1 win in 15. Yes, we've drawn games throughout that. There's been opportunities when we should have won games when we haven't. Doesn't bloody matter. We should be winning. We should be in a better position. Supposedly when Sean Dyche says this or whoever else says, "Oh, we've got a good enough squad of players who are good enough." From what I'm watching at the moment, we are not good enough. We are a championship team. It feels like that. Without the exceptions of the likes of Branthwaite, who will move on. Okay, his performance last night was very, very poor, and then he did come off injury. I hope it's not a major thing, and he's a young lad, and he's gonna have games like that, and that's just the way it is with him. But he's gonna move on, and you've got Jordan Pickford will probably be another player. If we were to go down, will be sold. And Arna, he was ominous yesterday. I didn't see any impact from him. He's supposed to be a fantastic player for us. He's supposed to be, the future. He's going to be going on to bigger things, bigger club for him. Didn't show it last night. He didn't show that capability. What he keeps on walking around like, look at me, I'm great. I'm going to be this player. When in reality, we see that he's not. He's not that player. We've seen moments with him where you can see yes, he's going to, you know, go forward and go to a bigger club, but his inconsistencies are there, and you can see the weaknesses is that he has, and he just didn't perform last night. Second half, okay, yes, it was 6-0 in the end, but it was damage limitation. I'm just really, really disappointed. In all honesty, I want to try being honest as possible, but the way I feel at this moment and the way the team's been playing for months, and it's since December, it's indicating to me that the only place we're going to go upwards is downwards, and that's how I feel. try to be optimistic, try to be hopeful. I'll always be when I go to the game. So when I go to the game on Sunday, I will get behind the team like I always have done. I'll be like everybody else, willing on a win and hoping that we can get the points that we need to move forward. And that will always be the case with me. I follow Everton through thick and thin, to the day I die. And whatever division I will be in, wherever we go, I will always follow Everton to the ends of the earth, basically. And that will never change. But when you're watching performance like that, when you see performances like that, the feeling I have is that how are we going to get out of it? How are we going to get out of this situation? How are we going to, perform well enough or perform to just get the results that we need to stay up? But on that performance last night, the Burnley game, yes, we came with a win. Okay, we were lucky against Newcastle as well, where we could have, it was 1-1 in the end. But predominantly in that game as well, we were poor. We could have been out. Newcastle could have been out of sight, and they showed how they did at the weekend when they beat Tottenham 4-1. It shows what they can do. When things work for them, we were just lucky. We just the opportunity. Jordan Pickford had a really, really good game last night. He made a bit of an error from one of the goals. It was just one. That game last night was just shows that unless something changes dramatically, I can see us going downwards to the Championship, and I can just see it. And all I would put it out there is, we can talk about the team, the performances, and how do you set up, and confidence, and all the other things that come as part of it. Points deductions and all sorts of things. Yes, it does have a play on players' minds, but this is one win in 15. It's then on the manager and the coaches, to instill a confidence in them, to get, to set up the best way you possibly can to get wins and give that morale a boost. It felt like last night that those players, as soon as we started to lose goals, just gave up. And I posted something on social media and I just put it out there and just said, have these down tools, on the manager. And I've said all along about the manager, Sean Dyche, and I've said all along, he is a limited manager. He can only go so far. He can manage teams that are teams that are in the lower parts of the Premier League or in the Championship, and he's past his sell-by date in my mind. And what I mean by that is that we've got new, young, up-and-coming coaches coming through who've got new ideas, a new way, and they can adapt and they can build something. Sean Dyche is an old school kind of manager in some ways. He's of the ilk because of the time when he was at Burnley. It was a few years ago now when he was last at Burnley. For the period of time that he was, the Premier League was different then, and it was set. Burnley worked. It worked for him, and the team that he set up, it worked for a club of that size, and he did well. And for a manager to come to Everton with the size that we are, the expectation and the pressure that comes with that, it's inevitably we are a big club. Our history indicates that, obviously, and he has to come in. And last season, yes, we stayed up, and we gave him the opportunity to think, get some players, hopefully get reinforcement coming in to strengthen the squad. Obviously, it didn't happen because of the off the field activities and financial issues that we have, and losses that we're making year in, week in, week out, monthly. That's just not at the moment, but it's just how it is. And operationally, we through Kevin Fairwell as well, the director of football, bringing players in who, in the summer, they've come in. We've not been able to bring more players in, obviously, because of restrictions of the money and everything else regarding that and the finances. But when you look at where we are and you look at what the performances have been like, all I will say right now is all the players that they have signed have been failures. And okay, I will throw out on a Kevin Farewell period. I will say that James Tarkowski has been a good signing for certain periods in a defensive sense. Brantwaite obviously was not part of Kevin Farewell. He was, he was bought a while under Brands. So, but if you look at the players that he's brought in, they failed. They're not. You bring players in to be successful. The players to make an impact and be part of a team and get us wins and get us performances and actually move us forward. It's not working. Beto has been a failure. Okay, he scores some goals and he gets himself about, but he's been a failure. And Chimiti, he comes on. He's got the capabilities in the future to be a really good striker, but at the moment he's not there yet, and that's a massive pressure. But the players that we signed, like Ashley Young, he does. In certain games he can do well in certain games he can't. He can't keep his pace up. He can't do anything. For me, he's not. You can keep saying look for his experiences and that sort of thing, but you always get bits when he can perform okay in games, but it's few and far between. And last night we saw that. Jack Harrison started off really well, and he just, he's become a failure, which is a shame because he did well at Leeds, and you can see the potential of how good a player he is, and we hope we will go and see that kind of player. But he's not. He's not shown that capability. He's not shown what we were expecting of him, and that's why he's been on the bench lately. Maybe he's not been. That's where Sean Dyche is not giving him the opportunity at the moment because he's not performing. And you push him, Dwight McNeil, and he's got the issues off the field, and he's running around trying to break down, but his performances are not good. But it's in the setup, it's in the formation. It's like you keep on playing it and keep on playing it and waiting for drop downs because no Calvert-Lewin last night through due to injury, and you're not going to get that from Beto to get drop downs and get our midfield going further forward. It worked for 5 minutes. We were getting forward, we were pressurising, we were doing all that, and that was great to see for 5 minutes. But we're fragile. The mentality of these players are gone. They're fragile. Their confidence is obviously gone. This is where we're at. But this is when you need your manager to be reinforcing, to try different things, to do different things, to try and galvanise his squad because it's his squad. But it's not happening. And I've said when I spoke in a few weeks ago in the podcast regarding reset, in that 3 weeks that he had in Portugal for that week, in the 3 weeks where we had a break, obviously I mentioned before, how can you not decide not to do anything in the training to try something different, try something that might work, get the players involved and see what they think? Nothing. And it just went on. Nothing has changed. The formation's not changed. The tactics have not changed. You still launch the ball to a Calvert-Lewin or even to a Beto. You try the passing of football. We can't pass the ball around. The very good player that we have is Gomez. And Gomez is not quick, he's not pacey in that central midfield, but when he gets the ball, he can pass the ball around. But anybody else, it's like hot potato, hot potato, hot potato. And when I watch before the game starts, before and they're warming up, and they're passing the ball around. It looks all fantastic. They can pass it. They can pass it to each other. They do lots of that work, and it seems to do a lot of that work. But when it comes to the game itself, and because it's a formation and tactics, we don't do that. And when we do it, it's only for a few passes here or there, and it's more going that way. and it's trying. I just don't understand it, and it's just what can you do? And when I said about that period of time to try and reset, do something with it, not just about you know getting this team galvanized and try something different. But what I mention about reset is that the manager, and no disrespect, he's not good enough. He's not good enough for this football club. He's not good enough. You can see in performances. We can be critical of the players, and rightly so. We should be critical of the players because they're not performing and they're not doing their job. But the manager is the one putting the instructions out to them. He's there. He is their manager. He is their coach. He's their leader. He's the person that actually has to motivate them. It's not just about what you can do tactically, what you can do, in a formation sense. It's also about, building them up, galvanizing, getting confident, supporting them, getting him, to go out there and put an effort in, and actually telling them players, because they should know, some of them have been there for a period of time, it's all about the fans over there, and they should put the shifts in, for the fans, and put the effort in for the fans. But what I saw last night, or what I've seen throughout the season, on and off, is basically not putting any kind of effort in. No effort at all. No determination, no drive, no aggression to fight, fight, fight for all our heart. That's, part of the song. Going out there, pushing, fighting, chasing, doing all that. If we see you doing that, we'll get right behind you. In the Burnley game, McNeil did it for a period in the second half, running, chasing everything down. We got right behind you because you were going for it. You wanted the ball. You were trying. You were fighting to get the ball, to get us forward, do something with it. But 90% of that game against Burnley, we didn't see that. Lane last night, didn't see it. You down tools. You did fuck all. You just gave up. And if you gave up, what that tells you is that whatever your formational plans that you had, what the manager gave you, doesn't work. There's you've got Seamus Coleman there, who is, on the field, supposed to galvanise you as a captain, get behind, talk to you, and he probably does that. But if it's not happening there on the field, at half time, at the beginning, or whatever, the manager should be instilling into you, this is what we have to go out there and do a job and fight for this football club. They don't have the mentality for it, and that's the problem. And we're going to see, and that we can be angry now, and I've given it, since yesterday, I've given it a few hours, I slept on it to think about it. But watching that game last night, I got to a point to give up and didn't watch the rest of it because I just knew where it was going. But it's just, something has to give. And my feeling is that Sean Dyche shouldn't be here now. And people say, well, there's nobody there to make that decision. And that's what's frustrating for me, is that we need him gone. We need the coaching staff gone. Who would you bring in? That's what I get here. And who do you bring in? There's nobody else can come in. Near the end of the season, we've got how many? 7 games left, 6 games left. Who would you bring in? Anybody that's better than Sean Dyche that can come in and motivate our players, try something different, trying to get the best out of our players, because he's not doing it. He can't get the best out of them players when things are where they are, where we're hitting rock bottom at this moment, because it feels like we're hitting rock bottom. We've still got an opportunity to get out of this, but we need rejuvenation. We need somebody with fresh impetus, fresh ideas, fresh motivation to come into the football club. Leighton Baines, just bring him up, just put him on there, put Seamus on his assistants, do something different. Somebody cares about this football club. Okay, Duncan Ferguson, we've done this before. It's the same scenario, just bringing Leighton Baines up. But it just feels like because there's nothing going on behind the scenes, it feels like Mashiri, who watched the game last night for some strange reason, yes, he likes to go to games in London, but can he pull the trigger? He's still the owner. He can make the decision. He watched it last night, but what's he doing? Oh, I'll just put my feet up. He's watching this club, teetering, hitting that iceberg that's down that iceberg. We're in the Titanic and we're nearly going to hit that iceberg. We've got that one nail left in that coffin and it's going to get whacked at some point and we're going to go, and it's getting close to it. Something has to give now. If we have to wait until the summer for him to go, and if that's what's going to happen, then this is the next decision. If that's the case, he has to change. He has to sit with his coaching staff, sit round and change himself. He won't because he's stuck in his own ways. Something has to give now because we are that close to going down. We're that close. And okay, that defeat and the way we played last night just makes me feel this way that we're going down. Forest game, we're going to get beat. It's just a matter of time. And then on Sunday, hallelujah, we play well and get a result. Play well. We don't play well for about how many months, but we get a result, and we're rejuvenated again because we won a football match. But we shouldn't be thinking like this. We shouldn't keep on thinking, oh, we hope we've got 6 more games to go. We get past the Forest game. We've got 5 more games to go. We get past Liverpool. We've got 4 more games to go. We're still a chance, still a chance, still a chance. There's going to be a point that in the end we're just going to like, what will be, will be. And that's just on my mind. Honestly, I can't think of any, other way I can think of because there's 2 options. We just continue with Sean Dyche, which is looking likely at the moment. And sadly, whatever I say, whatever anyone else says, it's just because we have an interim board that doesn't communicate much, don't do anything really. They're just there doing their job until the new owners come in. And you've got an owner who basically is trying to sell the club and trying to get whatever money he possibly can. There is Kevin Felwell, who is weak in my mind and needs to move on as well because he's been a failure. With the recruitment that he's made, the players that he's brought in, yes, with any kind of money that we've had or any kind of thing that we've had, he hasn't used it very well. And yes, you can say he's had a lot of pressure on him and tied behind his back in many ways, but he's been given money and he's been trying to be creative enough to try and bring the players in to help the squad to grow, and it's not happened. So we'll see what happens against Forest. I'll be there, getting right behind the team as per usual. Whoever is playing, whatever decision is being made, I'll get behind it. Whatever. I just hope that we can come away with 3 points. That's all I can do. So yeah, it wasn't the greatest game last night, and I just don't want to think about it. It was a poor performance. It's got the Mike Walker feel about the whole thing this season. We just play really abject crap week in week out, but we somehow get through it. I don't know how. You know, what would you guys think? What would be the best solution? My mind would be the manager need to go now. We should look for a coach if we're able to actually do so. Or how do we have to go with something like Leighton Baines just to come in to tide us over until the end of the season? And Is that the best way forward? Because if there isn't any money in the kitty to actually try and bring a new manager in with new coaching setups and everything else, then what's the best alternative? What do you think? Do you think he will stay to the end of the season? My back of my mind just thinks yes. My heart hopes, in my heart it feels like he should go now, but my head is telling me he's going to end up staying to the end of the season. And we'll see what happens in the future. But the future is also as bleak as what we see on the field and where we could be going. With the takeover and everything with MSP and the feeling that I had straight after the game, obviously, when, as people might know, if you don't know, MSP, as 777 partners had to, in part of the condition is to pay MSP the £158 million, which should have been paid as of today, US time. Um, but through Mashiri and they've been able to agree an extension for a few weeks, because what would have happened if that wouldn't have happened? Um, MSP could have had taken 51% of the ownership of the football club and would have been owners, and basically they could have taken it on and they could have been in a different way. A lot of people felt that would have been a best way forward. Um, some people think that probably isn't the case because they've got a lot of debt they have to deal with and a lot of different creditors to deal with and everything else, and try and get the club performing again and going forward. So they've given an extension, but that's just an extension for a few weeks, I believe. So they could still, if 777 partners can't get the money and the conditions that they need to pay them, and plus keep the club running to the end of the season and other conditions, and pay the stadium off as well. Um, it's them to try and get that finance. But the feeling I have is, as I've said all along, 777 partners are not right for us, and they've had 7 to 8 months, 7 months or something like that to try and get that money together, to take over. But they've obviously don't have the money, and they're going to too many lenders out there to try and get the money. To actually, that means you lend money from one place to pay for another thing, um, which is like when you have a credit card and all that sort of thing. You can transfer one credit card to another to try and consolidate your debts and consolidate your money and stuff like that. They're trying to find lenders and people to invest in the football into them, give money to them so they can to actually take over, enable them to take over the football club. But no, it's taken them 7 months and it's still ongoing, and they've given it a few more weeks. So we're going into May, which is near the end of the season. We've obviously appealed against the points deduction, the 2 points deduction. So we're now going to find out that before the end of the season. So we might get those 2 points back, which might be helpful in our sense if it ever comes to that. So, but it's just ongoing. And as I mentioned about the reset that I talked about in the previous podcast that I had, um, from my sense, I mentioned about Sean Dyche leaving, and I mentioned about Kevin Farwell leaving. Um, so, and then reset, meaning we had new owners in. I was hoping it would be done by now, obviously, like everybody else is. Um, but it's now going into May and then into June. Then we're going into the pre-season at a period of time where we need obviously recruitment. We need players coming in. If we need players coming in, we need that. So if we are still in the Premier League or even in the Championship, it doesn't matter. We still need players to reinforce. Players will obviously leave as well, so we're going to obviously get money coming in on players such as Brantwaite, maybe Pickford as well. We don't know, Anana, and getting money from them, and then using it the best way with new people in, this is what you want from an owner coming in, to bring new people in, new director of football, new management, new everything, the whole setup. But it's dragging on into the summer, so it'll be very, very tight. And I could just feel that we're going to go into next season, even even in a worse state than we are currently. And I would also think that, what you will find is that our academy, the young players that we have in the under 23s, they will be put in the team. And if that's with a new coach, I'm hopeful a new manager, a new coach, bringing in the young players as well and adapting them into the squad, and just have to go with it. And whatever happens to us next season, we'll see. I just don't know. But this reset that I wanted to talk about, I was hoping it would be happening now, but it's just dragging on and on and on, and that's not helpful. And the feeling I have is that if they can't get that money together, and you've got a situation with MSP and they want their money, they take ownership, then it's down to them, then you can just see who's going to pay for keeping the club running, you know, in May, June, July, whenever onwards, when, our MSP going to stump up the money, if that comes down to that, what's going to happen? Because if we don't, you know what's going to happen next? Administration. Well, insolvency. It's just inevitability is going to happen because we have an owner who is so adamant that they want these people to come in that they can't. It's taken 7 to 8 months to get the money, or to get the conditions, or try to get the money, and that's still ongoing. And he just, there is other people out there. Now I've heard there's other people interested. Why can't you open the door and let other people in who might be able to offer something even better? Yes, it may take a longer, but at least there's somebody. You might get done quicker because they can get the money, the conditions that the Premier League want 777 partners to do. They put the same conditions to them, and if they do this, if they pay up, there you go, you own the club. But they're not. Anyway, I ramble on. It's just tiring, and it's like never-ending story. As I say, it's like at the end of the tunnel. You hope that you'll see the light at the end of that tunnel, but it's just getting to a point now where, will we ever get there? And I don't want to go into administration. I don't want the club going into administration. I don't want it to go in that direction. But it just feels that that's where it's going. All I can do, and I'll continue to do, as I mentioned before, is I will keep on supporting this team until the day I die, through thick and thin. I'll always, hope and hope, and I'll always hope that, there'll be something good around the corner. But it's not, I can't see it at the moment. And let's see what happens at Forest, against Forest on Sunday. If we come away with 3 points, it gives you a little bit of gallon. I think, oh, maybe. But again, it's the hope that kills you, doesn't it? Anyway, on that note, just before I go, I just want to say to all the fans who travelled down to the Chelsea game last night, you are superstars. I just don't know how, on a work day, to travel all the way down to London, if it's by train or by bus or going on the coach or driving down, getting back in the early hours in the morning, and then and watching that. Basically, I'm just absolutely, amazed by the support that you guys do, guys and girls do, every away game. And that's just not the home fans who, as well, but it's just amazing. I just want to do that to you, just keep on doing what you do. You're always, your noise is there. You get right behind the team. But when you put performances like that, what can you do? But yeah, I want to put my thanks out to you guys. Anyway, on that note, this is the end of this podcast. I'll be back I will hopefully next Monday. We'll have to see how everything pans out. It's been Tuesday over the last few weeks, but hopefully I'll be back next Monday. Again, as per usual, for everybody who has listened to this podcast of me just rambling on, speaking absolute nonsense about Everton Football Club, thank you again for your support, your feedback, for listening and just taking your time out of your day listening to my podcast. It's really, really appreciate it. I want to grow it. It's just going to take time. I want to find that moment in time where I can start to build on this. I want to interact more with you guys and girls who listen to this podcast, so we can have a really good chat about Everton Football Club. Um, that will happen in the future. I know I keep on saying it, but it will happen when I get a moment to actually do it. But I work as well, so it's finding that time. So thank you everybody again for the support as per usual. It's always appreciated, and if you enjoyed listening and watching, please subscribe on YouTube for me. Please give some feedback, like, comment, whatever on YouTube for me. Always helpful for me for growing my audience on YouTube. Also do the same on Spotify and Apple. Like it, comment on it, give me as much feedback as you possibly can through social media, through Twitter, through Facebook, and through, any other means of that. Please just give me, as much feedback as possible in a positive and negative way, how I can improve this podcast. But on that note, that's me gone. Everybody have a great week. I hope we can get to Friday, get to Sunday, and hope we can be a little bit more, get behind the team again, and we'll see where we go with it. But on that note, this is the Rambling Toffee signing out. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.